Alright, we are recording for Chapter 1 of The Princess Bride, which is titled The Bride, because it's mainly focused on Buttercup, but it is covering more than a movie, but up to the I Shall Never Love Again. Is that the line? I just want to make absolutely certain. Even though I just read it, I still do want to. But I must never love again. Sorry. So they changed it a little bit in the movie, because I think there is I Shall Never Love Again. Anyway. It's interesting. It does still have a meandering quality to it, but it is more focused than even the introduction, the like chapter, the previous video, chapter 0 kind of thing. But it does still kind of bounce around a little bit. But as I've said before, and I'm saying again here, the way it does that feels very appropriate, as though it is to be read to somebody. And so instead of them having to, follow the text here to stay interested, it's the person reading it is changing, subtly, but changing the topics just enough that it's keeping you interested. Okay. So yeah, it does some curious things. One is, and starts with this, and it's like, yeah, Sorry, I try to get myself a little bit better centered there. It is an interesting mechanic that he uses here, the author uses here. And I'm okay with that. I knew exactly where it was going. But it was talking about how the year she was born, Buttercup was born, the most beautiful woman in the world was this. And then, tells us a little bit more about her. When Buttercup was 10 years old, the most beautiful woman in the world was this. And obviously it's going to get to she is the most beautiful woman in the world at the end of the chapter. But that's what they were doing. Then when she was 16 or 17, I don't quite remember which, kind of irrelevant. Okay, well, she is already she's described at this point as being something of a tomboy. All she really cares about is her horse and taunting the farm boy, Wesley. That's it. That's her only interest. But at 16 or so, the boys of the village are noticing her. And so the girls are rather upset. And at one point she finally corners one, makes her admit why they've stopped communicating with her, and it's because they are envious. And she's basically, that's silly. Boys aren't even good for anything. Why would I care about them? So it then becomes kind of a thing that, well, yeah, I'll get to that in a little bit. Wesley does factor into this a little bit, but in any case, it then becomes a thing that apparently men from all over will come to the village to just see her around, because even though she's at this point only in the top 20 for most beautiful women in the world, it's still, she has potential because she's still relatively young at 16, 17, and just young enough that people still want to look. And one of them is a nobleman who then goes and reports on her beauty to the Count Rugen. Now we learn in this, he is actually married. That is, to my knowledge, she is not at all mentioned. The Countess is not at all mentioned in the movie. And we also get a little bit more explanation as far as the politics going on here. Yes, the king and queen are still alive, but the king is so old that it describes every organ in his body has betrayed him now, so he's not long for this world. So Prince Humperdinck is really the one ruling everything. And Rugen is his only confidant, is his only friend, and so he made him a count as a birthday gift. So the Count and Countess then. She is described as being much younger than him, and is very obsessed with her appearance. She is only dressed in the finest of gowns. And it is also if there is a fault to her form, the gowns are tailored to hide that. If there is a fault to her face, which I don't remember the word he uses, but what she applies hides it. So and it even says that eventually she will end up moving to Paris to run a boutique there, or something like that. So it's such vain obsession is ultimately her profession. I mean, hey, at least it's turning, that sin, or at least temptation to sin, into a positive for her. But the Count hears of this. He's of Buttercup's beauty. So, he comes up with a pretense for why he, the Countess, and a whole entourage should come to Buttercup's parents' farm in order to see her. Which is, we've heard that you have the best cows in all Florin, and we are interested in starting a dairy of our own. We want to know what it is that you do, that you're so successful. And they're like, huh? The only reason people buy our milk is we don't have any competition. That's how bad it is. What are you talking about? I mean, they're not actually saying this, but that's their thinking. Yeah, and it's also describing how, and it isn't my style, and there's a part of me that I don't like this, but I have to acknowledge it is not my style, and that, so I might be biased against it. How it describes that her parents, their only dream is of leaving each other. But then, like a page or two later, it does talk about how, no, they actually are deeply in love with each other. But they have the relationship where they, like, will constantly bicker, back and forth, constantly have an argument going on, and you know, like, who's winning, who's losing kind of stuff. This, they're quite surprised by, the Count's appearance, and it's like, I mean, they really have no idea why. I'm sorry, I just, that aside about their relationship, it threw me just a little bit off track. I'm trying to remember, did I have a way to actually tie that back into what was happening? No, I think not. I think it was just, oh, I'm talking about appearance, I'll talk about this now. Sorry about that. But, and just to explain that, I don't like the whole, the narrator stating they dream of leaving each other, but then a page or two later, it's, no, they do, in fact, very much love each other. When her father dies, her mother dies like 2 years later, and everyone described it as basically a broken heart, because it was that argument back and forth that really kept her alive, and once that was gone, she was gone. So it's like, I don't like that. I don't like at any point lying as the narrator, lying in the narrative to somebody. It's, yeah, I don't, I get it's a style thing, I get it, but it still it annoys me. Anyway, coming back to it. So he's like, I've got many secrets for how we do this, don't I, honey? Oh yes, many secrets. Okay, well, what are these secrets? Well, the farm boy is really who maintains them, so why don't we get it? But it's also, so it's like they came out to the carriage, and no, the Count hasn't stepped out of the carriage yet. When Buttercup does, because it was even like, you know, she came in to like bolster the whole thing, to support the whole thing. Oh wait, no, it was as the Count asked, like, are you childless? No, we have one. Let me see your daughter. And they're like, yeah, Buttercup, wait, how'd you know it was a daughter? I guessed, and sometimes I'm lucky. The moment Buttercup appears, the Count steps out of the carriage, so we get to see his form. Relatively tall, broad-shouldered, black hair. At one point, he's described as being of dark skin, black gloves. We don't have anything about a sixth finger yet, and black cape. And he basically, the moment he sees her, only sees her. He is constantly staring at her. And you know, then it's the whole, okay, well, how have you achieved, you know, the greatest cows and all that? It's like, have to ask the farm boy. He's the one who feeds them. Where is he? He's over there. The Countess now, still in the carriage, looks out, because can see him there. It's like, you, come here, and snaps. She's not that nice a person. It's very clear. And so he does come, and it's like, what do you do? Well, I feed the cows. You feed the cows? Show me how you feed the cows. Because it's like, I'm trying to remember, it was clearly sarcastic, but how basically we are here because we are so excited it is beyond measure about knowing about cows. And how your cows are the best. So yes, I must see this. Lead the way. He's even like, your gown, which Buttercup, when seeing, was like dazzled by the brilliance of it. Like how did it put it? Every color in the world was muted in it. But yeah, and Wesley's like, you'll ruin it if you come and follow me. And she's like, it's no matter. I wear them only once anyway and burn them after I'm done. The thing is, that might be true. the way she is so vain about her clothes that's already been described, that could be true. Anyhow, and there's some weird stuff with parentheticals as well that I'll get to. So Wesley leads her to the back of the barn where the cows are, and she follows, always staring at him. And it was also, he also was hesitant to even come out, and just for how he was dressed. And she was like, "I've seen bare chests before. It's no matter. Come on." He wasn't bare chested, but it is, was basically in rags. But so he goes, she follows, staring at him. Buttercup follows because, I'll help, or I sometimes help him, kind of thing. The Count, and she's really following because she doesn't like how the Count is staring at him. The Count is staring at her, and then the parents follow the Count because, what the hell's going on? Kind of thing. Rather odd trail. So, before moving on, I'll quickly touch on the parentheticals, which we actually have an insert from Goldman, which, remember, he's the only author for all of this, trying to explain that Morgenstern would put in these parentheticals that are just, they're kind of silly, and it makes sense for if you were reading this. For example, the land of Florin was set between Sweden and Germany, was set between where Sweden and Germany would eventually settle. This was before Europe, is in parentheses. In theory, it was ruled by King... the Countess was considerably younger than her husband. All of her clothes came from Paris. This was after Paris. And she had superb taste. This was after taste too, but only just. And since it was such a new thing, and since the Countess was the only lady in all Florin to possess it, is it any wonder she was the leading hostess of the land? Close parenthesis. It's... if she had figure faults, her clothes concealed them. If her face was less than divine, it was hard to tell once she got done applying substances. Open parentheses, this was before glamour, but if it hadn't been for ladies like the Countess, there would never have been a need for its invention. The parentheses are, they're kind of funny, but it is those kind of asides that, they're adding extra flavor that I definitely see, if somebody's reading it, it helps. It does make it more interesting. Now I want to talk about Wesley and how we have gotten some description of him at this point. And I do want to be clear, we have gotten the whole, he basically always answers as you wish. He came to them as an orphan, is basically slaving away for them. We haven't yet gotten much physical description for him yet. That comes a little later, and I will get to that. That's what I want to get to next, but explain this. One thing that I do want to mention that is stated already at this point. So he lives in a hovel away from the house. It is mentioned that along with him living there and doing all the work and all that, every time he can have a candle, he uses it to read. And this is stated somewhat early on, compared to when we get more description of him. And it is, immediately, this is a very important aspect of his character, because that indicates intelligence, or at least a desire for intelligence, both of which are important, especially when you consider that what has been described for this land, for Florin, is not that such intelligence would be valued. In fact, I don't remember where it was, but it was kind of, it was very much said that Buttercup's parents are not impressive people. That her father is not all that intelligent, not all that good looking, and seems like he never is really successful at anything. And so he considers it something of a mistake that he has a daughter such as Buttercup, that she is so perfect. But if it is a mistake, he's not going to investigate it, because why chance that? And the mother is the same thing. He feels the same way, that, I'm not that beautiful, but I know I gave birth to her. I was there, so she's mine. I just don't know how. So Buttercup is at least physically described as their superiors. In fact, even mentions she is taller than both of them, which does happen, but it's not necessarily the most common. But now we also do have that Wesley is is, as I said, either intelligent already or desires to be intelligent. And that does get more so explained later on. It also does mesh with what we know from the movie, that he is a very intelligent person that we see there. Anyway, so we've had the line of people, the procession to see the milk, the feeding of the cows, and now it comes to the evening, where now Buttercup is being tormented by her jealousy of the Countess. Jealousy of Wesley concerning the Countess, because every time when she's trying to go to sleep and close her eyes, she sees the Countess staring at him, and this immensely upsets her. And this just continues, and it gets really, really bad when she closes her eyes, she not only sees the Countess looking at him, but him looking back. We also got, at about this time, let me actually see, I want to read something that's a little bit after it. Okay. And this, it is a bit cliche, and so it does annoy me a little bit because of the cliche, but, I mean, I get it. I guess I also need to be a little forgiving of cliche, because I suspect that I should consider this as a young adult book. And so you might not be at the point of knowing these cliches yet. And actually, it might even be younger than a young adult. Anyway. The Countess would not stop staring at Wesley. Why? Why in the world would the woman in all the history of Florin, who is in all ways perfect, be interested in the farm boy? Buttercup rolled around in bed, and there simply was no other way of explaining that look. She was interested. Buttercup shut her eyes tight and studied the memory of the Countess. Clearly something about the farm boy interested her. Facts were facts, but what? The farm boy had eyes like the sea before a storm, but who cared about eyes? And he had pale blonde hair, if you liked that sort of thing. And he was broad enough in the shoulders, but not all that much broader than the Count. And certainly he was muscular, but anybody would be muscular who slaved all day. And his skin was perfect and tan, but that came again from slaving. In the sun all day, who wouldn't be tan? And he wasn't that much taller than the Count either, although his stomach was flatter, but that was because the farm boy was younger. Buttercup sat up in bed. It must be his teeth. The farm boy did have good teeth. Give credit where credit was due. White and perfect, particularly set against the sun-tanned face. So yeah, that cliche of just like, oh, none of these things are important, but I can list off every single one of them because I have noticed them. They are of meaning. But still is, because of this jealousy, now she actually realizes that she loves him. And so he goes to, she, early the next morning, goes to his hovel, knocks on the door, he opens it, so he's standing there. And, she looked at him, then she looked away. He was too beautiful. I love you, Buttercup said. I know this must come as something of a surprise, since all I've ever done is scorn you and degrade you and taunt you, but I have loved you for several hours now, and every second more. By the way, in the movie, we have things a little flipped, in that she comes to... basically, in the movie, it's more subtle than this, but let me keep going, because I want to keep going to get just how much there is here. And it is kind of nice, but it is also a lot. But I loved you for several hours now, and every second more. I thought an hour ago that I loved you more than any woman has ever loved a man. But a half hour after that, I knew that what I felt before was nothing compared to what I felt then. But 10 minutes after that, I understood that my previous love was a puddle compared to the high seas before a storm. Your eyes are like that, did you know? Well, they are. How many minutes ago was I? 20? Had I brought my feelings up to then? It doesn't matter. Buttercup still could not look at him. The sun was rising behind her now. She could feel the heat on her back, and it gave her courage. I love you so much more now than 20 minutes ago that there cannot be comparison. I love you so much more now than when you opened your hovel door. There cannot be comparison. There's no room in my body for anything but you. My arms love you. My ears adore you. My knees shake with blind affection. My mind begs you to ask it something so it can obey. Do you want me to follow you for the rest of your days? I will do that. Do you want me to crawl? I will crawl. I will be quiet for you, or sing for you, or if you are hungry, let me bring you food, or if you have thirst and nothing will quench it but Arabian wine, I will go to Araby, even though it is across the world, and bring a bottle back for your lunch. Anything there is that I can do for you, I will do for you. Anything there is that I cannot do, I will learn to do. I know I cannot compete with the Countess in skills or wisdom or appeal, and I saw the way she looked at you. I saw the way you looked at her. But remember, please, that she is old and has other interests, while I am 17, and for me there is only you. Dearest Wesley, I've never called you that before, have I? Wesley, 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 darling Wesley, adored Wesley, sweet, perfect Wesley, whisper that I have a chance to win your love. And with that, she dared the bravest thing she'd ever done. She looked right into his eyes. He closed the door in her face. Without a word, without a word. And this does break her heart, but, I mean, we know what is all that, ultimately, yeah, that they do love each other. She does learn that, but, and we do get more or less an explanation for why he does shut the door in her face. But yeah, that was quite a speech, and it felt overdone to me when reading it, and even now it still does. Like having read it again just now, but excuse me. I mean, there is a place for it. It's just it felt overdone, felt overpracticed more so. Like she had worked this all out, and especially with the whole. How many minutes ago was I? 20? Had I brought my feelings up to then? It doesn't matter. It does make it seem like she's been practicing this. And it is one of those, I cannot disagree with the whole, you kind of do need to say more than just I love you, because there are different ways to love, so adding clarity to that, good idea. Going on like that, maybe not so much. Or at least I feel it isn't so necessary. I do also find it a little interesting, and this would be one difference from the movie. Is she does say, I've loved you for the past few hours now. Whereas in the movie, it's described as, the narrator saying how every time he was saying, as you wish, he was saying, I love you, and she just never heard it. But then she started to notice and realize that she has loved him all this time. We don't get that realization for her. Which is kind of disappointing. But, I mean, it doesn't really matter. She does love him, and it is a full and true love there. So, that works. But, she is heartbroken, but then it occurs to her, that, he's dumb. He doesn't know how to speak. That's why he shut the door, because there was nothing he could possibly say in response. So that calms her down. But then, hang on. Yeah, Wesley, hang on. Yeah. Buttercup stood, made her bed, changed her clothes, combed her hair, smiled, and burst out again in a fit of weeping, because there was a limit to just how much she could lie to herself. Wesley wasn't stupid. Oh, she could pretend he was. She could laugh about his difficulties with the language. She could chide herself for her silly infatuation with a dullard. Truth was simply this: he had a head on his shoulders, with a brain inside every bit as good as his teeth. Yeah, so basically she's now convincing herself that he doesn't love her, or rather love her back. I do find it interesting the mention of the teeth, if that's just to be a little silly, or if it's, if we're going to get something that his teeth are important later on. And we do also have this. She was 17, and every male she'd ever known had crumbled at her feet, and it meant nothing. The one time it mattered, she wasn't good enough. All she knew really was riding, and how was that to interest a man when that man had been looked at by the Countess? So, yeah, she's still very jealous. He then comes to the door of her room, and she tries to just play everything off as though, it was only a joke. Yeah. We both know the total impossibility of that ever happening, them being in love. I've come to say goodbye. Buttercup's heart bucked, but she still held to Fancy. You're going to sleep, you mean? And you've come to say goodnight. How thoughtful of you, farm boy. Showing me that you forgive me for my little morning's tease. Certainly appreciate your thoughtfulness, and he cut her off. I'm leaving. Leaving? The floor began to ripple. She held it to the doorframe. Now? So shortcutting some of this, I will still read some of it when he is expressing his love to her. He intends to leave to find his fortune, which is said in the movie, though here we get more detail. That's no, I'm going to take a boat up to London, then from London a boat to America, to do whatever, that he has trained himself to not need sleep, so he'll work 2 10-hour jobs, save up all the money he can, so only spending what he needs to live, so he can buy a farm of his own there, have their own farm there in America, and a bed for 2, and then send for her. So that's the plan there, which, if you know the movie, doesn't quite come out that way. But so though not explicitly stated, the inference I'm taking is that he closed the door because he has to prepare for this journey. Yeah, you're just crazy. She's not talking. You're just crazy if you think she's going to be happy in some rundown farmhouse in America. Now with what she spends on clothes. Stop talking about the Countess as a special favor before you drive me mad. Buttercup looked up at him. Don't you understand anything that's going on? Buttercup shook her head. Wesley shook his too. You never have been the brightest, I guess. Do you love me, Wesley? Is that it? He couldn't believe it. Do I love you? My God, if your love were a grain of sand, mine would be a universe of beaches. If your love were... I don't understand that first one yet. Buttercup interrupted. She's not the brightest. And to be fair, for ways of describing, she wouldn't necessarily know beaches. She was starting to get very excited now. Let me get this straight. Are you saying my love is the size of a grain of sand and yours is this other thing? Images just confuse me, so... Is this universal business of yours bigger than my sand? Help me, Wesley. I have the feeling we're on the verge of something just terribly important. I'm sorry, it's a little overly melodramatic, but it's also just... You've never been the brightest, I guess. To be fair, why would she be? He has a reason for it, which I'll get to, and that's the thing that I really want to read, but it's... Yeah. I have stayed these years in my hovel because of you. I have taught myself languages because of you, and I do wonder if that's going to come up later. I have made my body strong because I thought you might be pleased by a strong body. I have lived my life with only the prayer that some sudden dawn you might glance in my direction. I have not known a moment in years when the sight of you did not send my heart careening against my rib cage. I have not known a night when your visage did not accompany me to sleep. There has not been a morning when you did not flutter behind my waking eyelids. Is any of this getting through to you, Buttercup, or do you want me to go on for a while? Never stop. There has not been... If you're teasing me, Wesley, I'm just going to kill you. How can you even dream I might be teasing? Well, you haven't once said you loved me. That's all you need? Easy. I love you. Okay? Want it louder. I love you. Spell it out. Should I? You get the idea. Want it backward? You love I. You are teasing now, aren't you? A little, maybe. That I didn't quite feel was necessary. I'll be honest. I'm saying... Yeah, no, I'm gonna go with not quite necessarily. The whole a little maybe. I think it would have been better if he had more response, just giving her a look of yes, I am teasing you, not verbalize and just then continuing. I've been saying for so long, you just wouldn't listen. Every time you said, "Farm boy, do this," you thought I was answering as you wish, but it's only because you were hearing me wrong. I love you was what it was, but you never heard, and you never heard. I hear you now, and I promise you this, I will never love anyone else. So only Wesley until I die. Yeah, so you get that stuff, and then the whole he's going to turn to leave. Yeah, they shake hands first. But then she does end up saying, without one kiss, and we end up getting this aside here. There have been 5 great kisses since 1642 BC. And it talks about how, yes, everybody knows that these factors play a role in there, but no one's quite sure about the weights. But even then, it ends with, well, this one left them all behind. Then we end up getting a little bit more in here. But that is actually kind of interesting. We're basically, and I do kind of want to read it, but I won't because it's getting a little. Oh wow, it's definitely getting long. That basically, and I even made a special note for this. She decides, wait a minute, he's leaving me. He's gone. Well, he's gone from me. I need to do everything I can to make sure I will be worthy of him. That there wouldn't be a. He sends for her, she comes, and is like, oh, you're not who I remember. Go away. I'm going to marry that Indian in the teepee over there. It's like that's literally how it's put in there. Because like, well, she's still a strong, healthy body because she works. So Buttercup decides to start doing everything she can. I mean, she has to take on his chores now. So that's going to keep her lean, and healthy. She starts paying attention. It's like, oh, this elbow is too bony. This wrist isn't bony enough. She also now starts. She basically didn't bathe because she didn't care about her appearance before. Now she does, and it's like she's doing everything to try to maintain herself, to keep herself up, keep her beauty up, so that when he calls for her, she will still be worthy of him. Which I made a special note because it is that kind of romantic ideal there that both of them have an interest in being worthy of the other. That one does not consider that one of them does not simply consider themselves worthy and the other must prove it. No, they're both working at it in their own ways. He's going off to find a fortune so that he can support her, so that he can truly keep her, and she is doing things to keep herself healthy, but also keep herself beautiful, thinking that's what he wants. That's what would make her worthy for him. And it is a nice romantic thing to have in there, especially when you consider that she really had zero interest prior to this. Yeah, and she would do all of the chores as quickly as she could, so then she could get about to bathing, brushing her hair, exercise, and even mentions how she had her hair had never been cut, so 1,000 strokes took time, but she didn't mind because Wesley had never seen it clean like this, and wouldn't he be surprised when she stepped off the boat in America? Her skin was the color of wintry cream, and she scrubbed her every inch well past glistening. That wasn't much fun, really. But wouldn't Wesley be pleased with how clean she was as she stepped off the boat in America? Yeah. So then eventually we do get he has been writing letters back to her, including one shortly before leaving to go to America. But then off the Carolinas, pirates, the dread pirate Roberts, the one who never leaves survivors. Yes, her father said. She eventually went to her room, stayed there many days. At first, her parents tried to lure her, but she would have known a bit. And this is right at the end, so it's like, wait, sorry. There. And it does have one statement here, besides the "but I must never love again," that is interesting, and it does make sense. It really does. But it is one of those things that I could believe some people, especially younger people, might not quite understand, depending. So, as I mentioned before, when the chapter had started, it was talking about how this woman's the most beautiful in the world, then this woman is, and this woman is. And also describes how she went from, about 20 for beautiful women in the world. That basically, once she just started trying to care about her appearance, oh yeah, she moved up to 15, then to 9, and then she went from 9 to 8 just from reading a letter from him because of how much joy that filled her with. But after spending days in her room, saddened by it, not necessarily weeping, certainly that would have been part of it, but there would have been more going on than that. I just can't think of what it would be. She finally comes out. In point of fact, she had never looked as well. She had entered her room just an impossibly lovely girl. The woman who emerged was a trifle thinner, a great deal wiser, an ocean sadder. This one understood the nature of pain, and beneath the glory of her features there was character and a sure knowledge of suffering. She was 18. She was the most beautiful woman in 100 years. She didn't seem to care. So it is interesting that idea there. And I do feel like I need to say this before I forget. I really did like the chapter. It does have some things to it that I don't necessarily like, but it is, by and large, I really do like it. It is very much repeating the point that I said before. It does read to me very much, this is a story to be read aloud, which I'm not doing. I'm reading it silently, but it's like I get that feeling there, that I feel that is the better way to experience it, to enjoy it. But I do also like this here with the idea that she is now complete in her womanhood, complete in her beauty, and that this is what actually, brings her to that. That pain is what brings her there, and it is an interesting concept to have there, because it is something not everyone may understand, but there is truth to it, that an aspect to beauty can be that character there, that to have a knowledge of pain, an understanding of pain, an understanding of suffering. I just wish I knew a good way of explaining it, but the sad thing is I don't. It's not quite the whole... Well, I guess maybe that would work. It isn't like you need pain to understand joy, but it's more like to truly appreciate joy, an understanding of pain helps. It's like the greatness of your joy doesn't necessarily change if you know pain versus if you don't. But the joy will take on a greater meaning to you, will be of greater value to you if you do have that pain there. And yeah, I can definitely see how that would, and why, and it's not even going to be unique to this story. I'm sure there's other stories out there that not immediately coming to mind, I will admit. But I do not doubt that there are stories out there that also do describe that once a woman or a man, but typically physical beauty is more so, you concern yourself with women for that, more so than men. But it's still a very important character defining aspect of men as well, and male characters, that the pain that they have experienced, and it does shape many things about them then. I'm just trying to think what would be, because I feel like I know that there was something where somebody is then in great pain and somebody else says to them that now it's complete, now you understand. I can't remember what it is. There is one image in my mind though, and I don't quite know if that's right. And I know the image is at least similar to what I described, and that is in The Two Towers, when Theoden is weeping at the mound for Theodred, his son. Pretty sure I got the name right. And just how that is a moment that can strongly define him, especially with the idea of he has lost this, he must not lose anything more, which I don't think that they really do much about in the movies. I don't remember it being so much in the books either. But you could use that to explain why he would go to Helm's Deep, to hide instead of going elsewhere, doing other things to challenge Sauron. But it is still, that is a very character building or character defining moment to see Theoden crying there, because he's more than just a man. He is a king, and he's an older man as well. So you think his wife has already died. He's like that. He's had various pains throughout his life, but this is the one that you see him on his knees weeping, and all but alone, because it's only Gandalf there. Yeah. So yeah, I do like that being in here with Buttercup, because there is a certain truth to it that is of value. And how pain ideally not the death of your love, but how pain does tend to complete a character, does tend to refine a character and define a character. So yeah, like that it's there. So next is The Groom, which should be focused on, I believe it is focused on Humperdinck. It is a very short chapter, but we shall get to that a little later. It is a very short chapter, so hopefully the video will also be short, but we'll see. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else to mention, but nothing's really coming to mind. I should probably stop this. I guess I'll just repeat. While I do have some criticisms for it, by and large, I do like it, and the differences from the movie, I don't know. I kind of do like the timeline in this a little bit better than the movie, where she realizes it goes to him, and he's like, "How have you not known that I've loved you this whole time?" I do kind of like that a little bit better than in the movie, where we just get the narrator, Peter Falk, having her realize that, oh, he's been saying "I love you" the entire time when he's been saying "as you wish," and then finally it occurs to her that she loves him back. It's like, I mean, it is nice for how it is there in the movie. Don't get me wrong, it's nice, it's well done, but I do kind of like this version a little bit. You could cut it down, so don't need to overdo the melodrama here. You could kind of cut it down, but it's still, I do kind of like that better because of how it helps to better establish how full her love is for him. That it's not just them saying it and then the viewer being told it. No. She is putting all of these words together to say how much she loves him. He's like, "You got nothing on me, woman." And then after he leaves, she is then doing so much that before she had no interest in at all. She did not care, but because she now thinks he may value it, she's not even certain, he may value this. So she is now going to put in all this effort. It's like, that's a lot better. That really is. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see how it continues on. As I mentioned, I am curious to see how, if anything about his teeth comes up later, or the languages. That actually could be very interesting, because I could see that either being part of why Roberts spared him, that he was useful in some way, not just the please. I mean, nothing wrong if it is just the please. The please is what caught his memory. That would be fine. But it also is, might we see, because Vizzini, well, think about two of the three mercenaries. Vizzini is Sicilian, so he'd at least know Italian, as well as, let's just say, English, whatever they'd be speaking fluent, which I think technically it's been mentioned before might be French. Anyhow, and also Inigo is a Spaniard, so he speaks Spanish. In theory, Wesley would know both, so I wonder if that's going to come up at all, that he can understand them, and they don't realize that. Do not know. We hopefully we'll find out, and I just kind of hope it, because I want that payoff. Oh, what was it? Because there was also something else about this I did want to mention. Okay, no. It was just how he was talking about how he stayed in the hovel, studied languages, worked to have a strong body, all that, just because he thought she wanted. I also made a note, and I did want to mention this. This demonstrates great discipline from him. That he is doing this not just because he loves her, but he is choosing to do this to be the best version of himself for her. That is very impressive. That kind of discipline is very important. And it helps explain him later on as the Man in Black, how he's capable of doing so many things. It's by discipline. He has a disciplined body, so he's able to climb the rope. A disciplined body and mind, so he's able to defeat Inigo, even though, at least in the introductions, maybe it's on this here. Okay, no. Somewhere Inigo is described as the best swordsman, but Wesley defeats him still. And other moments that you can know from the movie, that discipline is on display there. So it being mentioned here, implied here, I do appreciate that. I did want to mention that. Because discipline, I know for at least one of my stories is, there's going to be a character that his discipline is going to be of great significance. That it both will allow him to achieve great things physically and mentally, but it also will allow him to do things that others would not ever be able to do. In some cases, that he can pierce through things. It allows him wisdom, but it also gives him some odd quirks. Like one is, I don't remember how much I've said about those stories, but I intended to be a trilogy. I'm going to write them all at the same time, but it would be in the second book that's finally explained why he never speaks in contractions. And this is a discipline thing for him, that he's trained himself to never speak in contractions. Why do you never do that? So I am never misunderstood. And it's just, it's an element of his discipline. So yes, to me, I do see great value in discipline, even though I'm not sure I've got many characters that are necessarily disciplined or disciplined in a conventional way. And in this meaning of the word discipline, I mean, yes, they know discipline, but I mean the idea of a disciplined body, where that means if there is something you wish your body to do, it will do it. Just, it will do it because you will your body to do that. That kind of discipline. Disciplined mind, because you have the will to do it, you will do it. Like right now, I am not demonstrating a disciplined mind because I said earlier I wanted to stop and I haven't yet. That's a lack of discipline. Yes, that kind of discipline, it is of a very interesting and important value in various characters. So I do like, and maybe I'm reading more into it than I should be. I think it is appropriate to make the inference, though. So yeah, just I do like it, and I as I said, knowing what I know from the movie, that kind of discipline, even if it isn't stated, is present later in the story as well, based on what I know for the movie. Alright, now I'm gonna hit the button to stop the recording. I'll see you next time for The Groom. Short chapter, probably will end up being a short video, but we'll see just how disciplined I will be then.